Cartoon Voices 2. How many people here were present for Cartoon Voices 1? Weren't those people extraordinary? Not to put too much pressure on these people, but they will top those people. Watch this. My name is Mark Evanier. I've been organizing these panels since the Paleolithic era. And each year, for those of you who don't know, I thought 23 years ago or so, I thought it'd be fun to have cartoon voice actors here. Now they're on every damn panel in the entire convention. Yes, and half of them are Fred Tatasciore. And the rest are Phil Lamar. I've been directing cartoon voices and writing shows for years, and I just am in awe of these people's talent. So when I tell you that I've got 5 of the best people in the business here, that's not because they're the ones who agreed to come, it's because I wanted the best people in the business and I got them to come here. And if you don't understand why they're the best in the business, you will before this panel is over. I always do a little disclaimer here to point out that each of these people is at some point under what's called an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. They do a lot of work in cartoons, they do a lot of work in video games, and the people who pay them do not want them to announce the stuff until the proper time as part of the marketing campaign, whatever. So there's certain shows I know they've worked on lately that they can't tell you about. And I could get them in big trouble if I told you about what they're doing, but I'm not gonna do that because then they wouldn't do my panel anymore.
There are people with blow darts everywhere. So, yeah, Star Wars is...
Yes. So anyway, the first person I want to introduce you to is unfortunately under so many NDAs that we can't tell you much about what she's done. She's very new to the business, but she has been an all-around entertainer, an impressionist, and comedian, and you've heard her voice on so many shows. This is the person they call when they need someone to dub in the voice of some female celebrity on a talk show or whatever. I'd like to say hello to Rosemary Watson, everyone. And when they need someone to do the voice of a male celebrity, there's nobody better in this business than this man. This is Mr. Jim Meskimen. If you've been to my panels in the past, you know I always try to get this man because he is so good and everyone loves working with him. This is Mr. Fred Tatasciore. And then we move down to another of the newer people in the business. Every so often a guy comes into the business and starts doing voices someplace, and all of a sudden he's on every single show. And the ones he's not on are because he had conflicts and was doing another show that was taping on the same day. He'll tell you about the shows he's on. Mr. Zeno Robinson. Now, as I told you, I've been doing this for like 23 years, and there are people who come to them every... How many people have come to more than 3 of these panels over the years? Okay, you say, all right. Kaitlyn, how many did you come to?
This is like our 20th?
Something like that.
I started in 2002, so either that's when you had it or when you started.
Yeah. Anyway, and Kate was coming to these panels, into our Business of Cartoon Voices panel, which I'll tell you about later, and studying and learning, watching these wonderful people, and just, you know, because she was a person who just thought she had the talent to do voices and who wanted to get into the business. Kate, what are you doing for a living right now?
Oh, well, I'm helping out as the new voice of Minnie Mouse.
Let me tell you how extraordinary. I'm sorry, we can't hear you sometimes up here. Are you finished?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, let me tell you how extraordinary that is. Disney is one of the very few studios that will let one person be the dominant voice of a classic character. There's 18 guys who do Bugs Bunny. There's 12 guys who do Daffy Duck. At any given point at Disney, there's 1 or 2 who do their classic characters. And it's a very rare gig because Disney not only does you know, the cartoons you see, but you know, like Bill Farmer, who does the voice of Goofy, is always going in and recording something for a theme park, or an educational film, or a radio progress, or a veterinarian, whatever it is. Yeah, he's actually a veterinarian, got a veterinarian show he's been doing for the.
Wow.
Yeah, and so for many years, Minnie Mouse was done by a lovely lady named Lucy Taylor, who we lost. Lucy, you can applaud Lucy any day. Yeah, she took her job as Minnie Mouse so seriously that she married the guy who was doing Mickey Mouse. And when Lucy passed away, there was this scrambling among people. Who's going to get that job? It was a plum job. It was that's not a little job to get to be the voice of Minnie Mouse for Disney. And after a decent interval, because you don't want to like do auditions right after the person dies, they started looking for people, and they went through. Kate, how many people do you think they listened to for Minnie Mouse?
How many women are in LA? But I didn't tell anyone I was auditioning. I was terrified because I didn't want to put the cart before the horse. So, and I had been practicing the voice since 2005 because I had worked at Disneyland actually. So when you hear those shows playing overhead, I would just kind of sit there quietly, like, you know, oh, go ahead, sit down over here. Oh, it's so fun. I love this one. Oh, hi, how can I help you? Thank you. So it was just constantly practicing, annoying my friends, annoying my roommates. And then when this came around, I thought, I don't want to tell anybody other than my agent. If I'm gonna get this, I want to make sure I'm getting it on my own merit, on my own talent, and if I'm the appropriate fit for that role. No handouts, nothing. Because I don't know if I'd respect myself if it was just like given. So, and I was very, very happy to receive this gift. And yeah.
Isn't that a lovely story? During the pandemic, I did a bunch of these panels online. If you search, you can find them with people, some of these people, and I think everyone, Rosemary was on one of them. And there's one with Kate on it, where she had gotten the job, but she wasn't allowed to say it. Then. So if you watch it now, and you'll see the little twinkle here and there, because some of us knew that she was probably going to get it, and we were all very happy for her.
Jesus, she's playing Little Twinkle too?
That's right.
The previous actress mysteriously disappeared for Little Twinkles.
Anyway, Kate, why don't you tell them what else you've been doing lately?
Gosh, what else have we been doing? Jim and I worked on Thundercats Roar for a couple of years, which was the most fun.
There were 16 fans out there.
It was so much fun because we don't really record ensemble these days. I mean, pandemic notwithstanding. But that was my first ensemble show, and it was so much fun. We would laugh the whole time.
Really hard.
Really hard, like dangerously hard. But that one was so much fun. We've got Firebuds coming out. I do a little voice on that show. A lot of like kind of one-off characters on some shows. I can't say that one. That's not a good idea. We're on the new Transformers Sparkle Club one. What's that one called?
Earthspark?
Earthspark. Sparkle Club is the secret name it went under. So I'm a tertiary character on that. So a lot of stuff is still under NDA. But I have an IMDb page if you want to look.
Okay. Zeno, tell them what shows they've heard you on lately.
Yeah, if you watch The Owl House, I'm Hunter on The Owl House. Randy at Big City Greens. And just recently announced it here at Comic-Con, we premiered Transformers Earthspark, where I play Thrash. So it's having a lot of fun on that one.
Oh, you've done more than that. Tell us some more shows.
Okay, anime fans, I'm Hawks in My Hero Academia. Of course, they're promoting it everywhere. Dragon Ball Super, Superhero, I'm playing Gamma 2. Baymax, the new Baymax, I play Ali. But I have to think, like, it's hard when they ask me, like, oh, what have you done? And you're like, oh, now I have to cycle to the Rolodex. Go and Pokemon Journeys. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
I thought you meant stuff now, Mark. Can I tell some stuff I've already done?
Yeah, Yes.
Okay, yay, back to me. So if any Amphibia fans in the house? I was Felicia Thunder on that. I was mother. What?
I was young King Andreas in Amphibia.
Oh, good for you. Bless his little heart. I'm Gretzko's mother on a Gretzko. So now you know where she gets her rage from. Thundercats Roar, I was Mrs. Gristidi. She was a sweet old lady who took care of Snarf on his one day off from the Thundercats. Gwen the Unicorn, who was very much the Mia Farrow from the last Unicorn, but she was always melancholy and lugubrious. She just wants her people back.
Well, we all know that one.
Well, great, now I'm blanking. I'm
It happens, I'll
good.
tell you.
We're
It's
good.
always
You may
every
move
time.
on.
Every time.
Okay, Fred, tell me the name of a show you've done.
But right now we're really excited about Lower Decks, Star Trek.
Shots. By the prophets, thank you. Live long and prosper. We gotta be spiritually centered.
Yeah, no, we're having such a blast doing that. And Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I play Moon Girl. No, I play Devil Dinosaur and having a lot of fun with that. And I hope you guys enjoy it. It looks so great.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
Excited.
Yeah.
And for kids, still doing Mr. Grouper for Bubble Guppies. Hello everybody. Ask the Story Bots. Playing Bang, man. This guy here. Amphibia. I'm
Soggy Joe. Have you watched Amphibia?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes, oh, yes.
And Arcane, I'm doing. I bet yeah, you got that. It was fun. That was a fun part of doing it.
He's so good.
And Arcane, Hit Monkey. I get to play Hit Monkey.
Nice.
That's so fun. I didn't realize how funny that was gonna be. Like it's really actually good. And it's still doing the Family Guy and what at home.
Weren't you
Soldier 76 reporting from
Yeah. No, weren't you Knuckles in like one of the
Yes.
Sonic extra features?
Knuckles. Yes, that's right.
Fred, would you Hulk out for us, please?
Yes, I will. Mark, Hulk, Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, smash! I love you guys. Yes. Oh no. Need more coffee.
Yeah, but it's just keeping on. Just happy to do it. Happy to be here. So cool.
Jim, tell me some cartoon shows you've been on lately.
Oh, well, I'm really happy to be involved in, I'm playing, a lot of you'll know, Mr. Unbreakable Comb in Rainbow Enchilada.
Woo! Yeah. Yeah. Rainbow enchilada. Yeah.
I made that up.
I never know that's coming out on Netflix.
Good show.
You know.
Mr. Unbreakable Comb. I'm in the Beavis and Butthead movie.
Woo! Yeah.
As the head of NASA, Mr. Ogilvy, who I modeled after Ed Harris because it seemed appropriate. Anyway, that's a pretty wild movie. And been doing a lot of Beavis and Butthead stuff. I do Colonel Sanders on the radio and your TV too.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been to KFC lately.
Wait, you're the KFC guy?
Yeah, I'm okay.
What is the secret spice?
And, I don't know. Yeah, Thundercats Roar was fun. I've had a long relationship with Thundercats because back in 1985, I was the senior character designer for the original show.
What?
Slamming artist.
I was 23 and got this job at Rankin Bass, which was an incredible gift. And worked for them for about a year throughout that whole show. And then they said, they knew I was an actor, and they were kind enough to say, hey, we're auditioning a new animated show if you want to come down later and audition for it. I said, yeah. And they hired me to do a show called The Comic Strip, which was a 4-part animated series. And so I've tried, on the strength of that and that relationship, I've managed to work myself into every reboot of Thundercats.
Nice. I would do that too, like, right? I was the senior character designer.
Yeah, exactly. I bring the artwork in and show it to them, and they go, oh, wow.
We know you without me, so.
Yeah, it works every time. So I was in the earlier Thundercats reboot, which was really good, and then Thundercats Roar, which I'm scratching my head over. But I played Monkeyin in that show, that was pretty much all. did a voice on the Oracle recently, the Grand High Priest. I got to go to Seth MacFarlane's house.
That's cool.
They said, yeah, you got this job. You're going to do this looping job for the Grand High Priest. Where do I go? You go to Seth MacFarlane's house. I said, really?
Whoa.
Got a very nice house. If I had a house like that, I wouldn't let someone like me in it.
It's a separate area.
Yeah,
It's a great studio.
30 feet away from his bed.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of the high.
Jim is kind of amazing on many levels. Back in the 70s, I was working at Hanna-Barbera, and the man who had the office next to me was a man named Doug Wildey.
Doug Wildey, yeah.
Who created Johnny Quest, and who was...
And he sounded like a character from Top Cat, am I right?
Yeah, it sounded like, yeah, that's... Jim does the best Doug Wildey impression in the world. Anyway, and his layout, his chief layout was...
It was the storyboard guy, Don Rico.
Was you were doing, what were you doing?
I worked for Don Rico.
Don
As an
Rico,
assistant, yeah.
who received the Bill Finger Award posthumously Friday night. Don Rico.
Did he?
Yes, he worked for his widow Michelle was here to accept it for him.
Oh, I should have
And
come.
it was, and Don was a good friend of mine also. And Jim was working there, and we must have passed in the halls 800 times there and not known each other.
Yeah.
Constantly. Doug was quite a character. It was amazing.
He wore an old fishing cap on his head like McLean Stevenson in MASH, if you remember that show.
Yeah, and he was his main thing he would do is he would go around the studio and find out who the good artists were on other shows and steal them away from his show. To the point where at one point another producer and he started fighting fisticuffs in the parking lot. and you have the building empty. You know, they're fighting, and we all ran out there, and we saw Bill Hanna come out and separate the two of them. Wow, it was very colorful. The other extraordinary thing about Jim, he had nothing to do with except being born to a very interesting woman that you all love. Jim, would you tell them about your mother?
Well, my mom is actress Marion Ross, who played Marion Cunningham on Happy Days. 60 or 70-year career. Anyway, she says hi. She's doing well. She loves you. She says she feels like she raised you, and that you all turned out so nice. She's gonna be 94 or 90 effing 4, as she says, in October. Mrs. Seeds.
As a result, Jim not only is the only person I know who does Doug Wildey, he's the only person I know who does Ron Howard.
Yeah, that's right. And I did it for Family Guy, actually, not too long ago. So, I worked for Ron a lot. I was in The Grinch, so I'm an on-camera actor as well. So.
You might have seen me in Gaslit recently too, with Julia Roberts and Sean Penn. It's kind of a grown-up show. It's a long crowd.
Right, Rosemary, tell these people some of the talk shows they've heard your voice on, because they bring you in to do segments for like Jimmy Kimmel Live has had you in.
Well, it's funny, when you said talk show, the first person that came to mind is Barbara Walters. I don't know if you know who Barbara Walters is. Anybody here? Under the age of 70, she started The View. And that's exactly how I met this fella right here. We were doing political impersonations.
Yes, and on Jimmy Kimmel, you may have heard me as...
Is that any air?
I can't remember what she sounds like. It was Melania Trump. That's who I was doing. Yes, Jimmy Fallon. I've done some political impressions for that show, and Howard Stern. And but I think for this crowd, I should
Probably let you know
what?
that I'm not Marge. But I really wish I were.
Oh yeah, and Robert Smigel. If you know Robert Smigel, Triumph. You know he's the talking dog. So he had a show on Fox called Let's Be Real. It didn't take, and that's your fault. But again, there I did a lot of voices, a lot of political matching. But I'm really trying to get out of politics, and I found this new character, and her name is Martha Stewart. If there is anybody here from Los Angeles, any Los Angelinos, excellent. Yesterday, I did a little segment for KTLA for Project Angel Food. A very good laugh over there. Anyway, I've been doing Martha, and that's like hit it big on TikTok, which surprises the heck out of me. I need a Snoop Dogg, okay? So tell your impersonator friends.
And you and Jim sometimes work together.
Yes, we do. We're trying to work together more often.
Okay.
We're trying to put together a massive show.
Could we have a moment of Diane Sawyer talking with Tom Brokaw?
I'm Diane Sawyer, and I have to tell you that it has been a while since we've heard from my friend Tom Brokaw, but when Diane speaks, she always sounds as if she can't believe what's happening. Tom Brokaw?
Well, this is Diana. Thank you. There's one thing I appreciate is getting together with old friend after a long period of time. Well, let me ask you something, Diane. I don't know if you have noticed, but there's quite a lot going on in the political realm.
I think that's all the time that we have.
We'll do one more of those. Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden.
Nancy,
I want to thank you for sending that beautiful basket of flowers to the White Horse. White House.
Joe, it wasn't me who sent the flowers, but I am hoping that with time I can get a new gavel, because the one over at the Congress is falling apart. I've been whacking it a little too hard.
Yeah, whacking it too hard. Yeah.
Just watching your faces.
So now you kind of see why these people get hired a lot. I mean, this is, if you were doing, I got a call one day from Neil Gaiman. And he said, "Can you get me a guy? We need something for an audio book we were doing or something." I forget what it was. He said, "We need someone doing series." Yeah, and he was doing. He said, "Do you know someone who does George W. Bush?" And I said, "Yeah, here's Jim Meskimen's number." And he called up, and you did like every president in the world for him.
That's right. I didn't know if he would remember which one George W. Bush was.
May I add one thing here, that I would like to be president. So
it's Bernice Sanders.
And she even managed to look a tiny bit like him. Anyway, so Neil called me back and he said, "That guy's frightening." Yes, you frightened America's leading writer of fantasy horror stories.
Bucket list items.
I would like to ask each of you to tell us who your voice heroes are. The people who inspired you, who made you, who watched when you were a kid, watching MTV, listening to, and did you ever have any interaction with any of these people?
do I get to go first?
You get to go first.
Good, because I'm going to steal his thunder. or we should join forces. Anybody know Rich Little? Jim and I just had the chance to do an interview last week or something like that with the legendary impressionist. He was in Las Vegas and we were in Los Angeles, and that was just amazing. So that's That's for me. And Carol Burnett, she's my go-to for characters.
You did, now what was the thing you did with Carol Burnett? They had you imitate her for some...
No, it's a really wild story. Go check it out on my website. But basically, I wrote Carol a letter because I was like at a bad place in my career, and I'm like, I need some help. So I thought, who can I write to? I'm gonna write to my idol. She got me into this mess. I wrote her a letter. She read it 10 days later. She called me on my cell phone. And she was like, she went to my YouTube page and she's like, I don't know, well, long story short, she has been a champion of mine and just is an amazing person, and she asked me to be a presenter at the Mark Twain Prize for Humor. She was given that honor in 2013, and so I got to go and be a presenter on stage with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and Martin Short and Tim Conway, and it was absolutely the thrill of a lifetime, and it was all because Carol wanted to pay it forward and help an unknown, and because somebody had done that for her. And so I always say, be like Carol and pay it forward when and where you can. Thank you, Carol.
Who inspired you?
Yeah, definitely Rich Little, but I also want to say that there's a man named Bob McFadden. Did you know Bob McFadden?
Sure.
Bob McFadden was in the original Thundercats, and he was in subsequent series for Rankin Bass. He did a lot of stuff for Rankin Bass, and I got to work with him on that animated show, the first one I did, the comic strip, and I got to see him operate. And he had been a stand-up and an impressionist, and he was just a really dear, funny, old Irish guy who now is younger than I am, but at the time. But he was so charming, and he would show me how to do. He would combine. He would hybridize voices sometimes. He would say, "Oh, well, we'll take Percy Kilbride from Ma and Pa Kettle and put him together with Hubert Humphrey," and it would do these weird hybrids of voices. I thought, well, that's a really creative way to work. And I saw Larry Storch do that too one time, and so. Yeah, just seeing the guy in the room at the mic. He would also do things like, okay, well, I'm playing this, for Thundercats, there was a Termagar the Tuska was, I only remember it because I designed it. He was a kind of was a walrus with one snaggle tooth. And so Bob McFadden, he would do the voice like this, with a finger in his mouth. And I thought, wow, can you do that? Is that legal? Apparently it's legal. So that was, when you see an artist create stuff in real time right in front of you, you go, oh, okay, that's accessible. I can do that. I can think with that. I know where they're headed. And so Bob McFadden was a great inspiration.
Can you give us an example of hybridizing two voices?
Yeah, sure. Well, give me a couple of voices. I'll hybridize.
All right, let's see.
1 hour hybridizing.
Supposing I ask you to put together Casey Kasem.
Okay, Casey Kasem, sure.
All right.
We'll start with that as a base, and move on from there.
Do a little more Casey Kasem.
A little more Casey Kasem, okay. But Mark Evanier has been working here for a long, long time.
All right.
He knows exactly how this thing runs from beginning to end.
Now do some Boris Karloff.
Now we're going to add some Boris Karloff in there.
Now, so Boris Karloff, if we go right to Karloff, he sounds like this. And he's got a sort of an upper lip that wants to hang out, closer to the tip of his nose. And so it's got this sort of... So let's hybridize it and put a little bit of Casey Kasem in there. Just a little bit of Casey. And you can see it makes a very peculiar character. Boris Karloff's top 50.
I would totally listen to that show.
We did not plan that. All right. Fred?
Well, I always loved Paul Frees. When I was a child going to the Haunted Mansion, that voice, when I heard it, just set me somewhere else, and I was like, what is that? And it was so good. I never got to meet him, of course, but just tremendous. Of course, everyone on Bell Blank, but I'm, by the way, honored to be doing a lot of the Looney Tunes and the Mickey Tunes. I'm remiss in not mentioning that earlier, but I think Yosemite Sam was my first impression as a kid.
Okay, let's hear Yosemite Sam.
Well, now I have to play him, so like, oh, now I hate these rabbits. My favorite part though of him is when he's defeated though. He's like, oh. I just wanted to be loved, you know. It's sort of like instant karma, you know. Working with Tim Conway was a big deal for me because he just was like, oh yeah. He was so good and just took everything so face value. Like we're like you, we're working together, and you know, it was just really great. You introduced me to so many, Jim Frey, Stan Freberg. I got to work with Carl Reiner, which was crazy because I played a mob boss on American Dad and Cleveland Show, and you know, he was my underling, which was really weird. You know, it was like to have like Carl Reiner as my, you know, one of my henchmen. You know, I was like, yeah, and I just said Carl Reiner, you know, the stuff he did with Mel Brooks and all the things he did. I'm such a fan of his work, and I just said, Mr. Reiner, I'm such a huge fan of your work, and he's like, you're the one. I thought that was sweet. So there's just so many, and then of course we all mention him, but you know, Frank Welker was a big deal. Yeah, and the thing I love about him is that he's as good now, if not even better than he's ever been. You know, like you don't phase out of this business, so it's like it's a real honor. Yeah.
We had Fred on the Garfield show a number of times, and Barney wants to play a very awful villain. And I don't think this is early in
Like your microphone is in your ear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I brought Fred in to play a villain on a Garfield show, and Frank was doing Garfield. And Fred, the minute he got to the microphone, he started doing this real evil Australian guy. And at the break, Frank took me aside and said, "That's good casting, boy. He's good." Now you were mentioning that you were inspired by Paul Frees doing the Haunted Mansion.
Yes.
I believe you were heard at Disneyland at times.
Yes. All over Star Tours. And you know, just actually a lot of different aliens and Wookiees. If you meet Vader, that's me. You know, when you Darth Vader which I'm more impressed with the guy in the suit who's got to fire off all those lines. You know, and so we did dozens of lines as Vader, and we realized that it's scaring the kids. Like it's like this Vader's not that. I mean, he's a great villain, but he's kind of terrifying, you know. And so we had to do one set of lines that were like, I can tell one of you is working for the the wrong people, you know, and I'm going to suss you out. And then when we had for kids, it's a whole other set of lines like, the force is strong with you. When you complete your training, you will join me. You know, it was all very like, and. The first time I heard it, I was with my wife, and I knew what to say to him. I said, "My lord, I found the traitor." And he's like, "Good. See to it that she never comes back." You know, she's like, "What?" You know what to say to him, you know? And let's see, rock and roll. Oh, let's see, what am I doing?
I drew on Space Mountain, yeah.
Space Mountain, yeah. Welcome back, space travelers. The most normal voice. It's my most normal voice. I don't know how I do it.
I just got on Space Mountain like the first time, like a couple years ago. I had no idea.
9, 8, 7. Yeah, and it's like the craziest thing. I mean, I think they phase it in and out. You know what I mean? Like Space Mountain voice and other things. Oh yeah, will you meet Groot? I am Groot. Yeah. See Groot? Yeah. He's fun. Disneyland. That's funny. Yeah, there's we all see the little smatterings around there of like different voices on the rides. But Star Tours has really been a fun one because it's like it's a different character for each ride you take. So I think I'm a Gungan that tries to get you out of a planet core. Yeah, it was one of those like
You must take this passageway this way. You are completely messed up. Oh, you're going the wrong way. Taking away your fast pass.
All right, Zeno, who are your heroes and voices?
I gotta say Phil Lamar for sure. Kind of ironic. I wore my Static shirt today, but like Static Shock is like a very formative cartoon for me as an African American, a black boy growing up. I like watching cartoons and like Yeah, like it helped me like discover my like racial identity. I was like, oh wait, superheroes can be black? Like I didn't know that like as a kid, but like as I got older, I was like, oh wait, he looks like me. And when I started doing like research and just Fillmore can do all of these different kinds of voices, like he's John Stewart in Justice League, and he's also able to play Static, and he does all these impressions, and I just think like he had a very like invisible hand. In fact, my friend used to run these voiceover classes, and he had a class, and someone paid for my spot in his class because I couldn't afford it, and I really wanted to take it. And they haven't told me who it was to this day, but someone paid for my spot in his class so I could learn from him and directly from Fillmore. And I geeked out. I wore my Static shirt. It was embarrassing, but. We did a virtual panel together like a year ago, and he was like, hey, like let me get your number so we can sit down and we can talk about voiceover. And I was like, what would I have to teach you? Like what can I possibly tell you that you don't already know that you have taught me? So like yeah, like he was like very formative for me like coming up.
Phil also he also knows almost everything about every comic book. Like literally, if we have to like do a Marvel or a DC thing, he's the guy who's like, well, what with Red Skull? Was Red Skull doing that? Well, no, actually, before he was doing this thing. He's like encyclopedic knowledge. It's pretty crazy. That's cool. Yeah.
Okay, Kaitlyn,
What?
who are you envying when you were
Who do I
getting into
envy
cartoons?
besides the girl in the mirror? I cut my teeth on Looney Tunes, like all those old classic cartoons and all the Disney movies and all that stuff. So my top people were Rusey, for sure. Tress MacNeille, who's just brilliant beyond words. June Frey and Bea Benaderet, both on Looney Tunes. Bea was so funny, she just got the best voice. And Maurice LaMarche. So just that the range of the quality that they bring to the page is just unfathomable. There'll never be another like them. But we could try. But definitely like, everything I can think of are all my favorite quotes or all my favorite attitudes or character choices. It all stems from the brilliance they established back in the 80s and the 90s. And I just can't speak highly of. Do we have a few hours? I'll tell you stuff. But yeah, I think those guys would be my favorite ones. And I've been very, very blessed to know Maurice for about 2 decades now. When I first started coming to these, he was one of the first people I met. Him and Rob Paulson.
I realized I didn't have to pick one. I realized I didn't have to pick one. Like everybody was like, this person. I realized.
Your heart can hold more.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't have to pick one. Yeah.
But definitely like meeting them after these panels and talking in depth with them of like, this is something I want to do. And people can ask 1,000 times, how do you break into it? And they had given it straight out, like take your acting classes, work on your character archetypes to make a demo, shop that demo around. Like there's a guideline for it. It just, everyone's journey is
slow down and write these down.
Okay, number 1, be good. Number 2,
I guess that'll be it for me.
have voice. Number 3, bribe. Number 4, profit.
Where does spite come in? Where does spite come in?
Spite is the flavor that keeps you going when person A booked it over you.
Got you.
Yeah, and there's a 2 for 25 deal. Self-loathing is character building. So you're going to want to have that at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're down half a bottle of Martinelli's and a bag of Oreos and you don't want to It's there. It's part of the recipe.
This is writing all these down.
Yes, of course.
And when you act, pretend like it's happening.
Yeah, that's the problem with tangenting. You don't know where you end up. Well, the dictionary defines savant as. But that was kind of my journey of how to do it. Like I talked to them repeatedly. Jess Harnell has been such a mentor to me to the point of like, call me anytime, I'll answer your questions.
Wow.
And I'm terrified to call, but then I did.
Jess Harnell was at the I Know That Voice premiere before I Know That. Sorry, and he said something to me. I was the one who ushered him in. I was working at premiere. I wasn't working at all. But I was like, wow, look at all these cool voice actors. And he was like, oh, dude, what do you do? I was like, oh, I'm an actor. He was like, oh, next time I see you, it'll be in a session. And I was like, for sure. And the next time I saw him was when I played J-Pac in Animaniacs.
There you go. Which is so good, by the way. It was so good. We went to a wedding. Rob Rob Paulson's son, Ash, got married, and we were all at the wedding together at the table. And we were talking about our journey at the time, and this was like 7 years ago. And I had confided into him, like, you know, one day in the far, far, far future, I'd love to audition for Minnie. Who knows what'll happen, but that opportunity is all I want. And we did a little bit, and he sits back and he's like, your career's gonna go off in 3 years. And then he went home.
Is he a psychic? Like, this sounds like he's just a psychic. Like,
a little bit of a psychic, and I booked my first like Disney show in 2018. My first show ever was Mr. Pickles for Adult Swim, way back in 2013.
I was Tommy, the little boy who owned the dog that was Satan.
And so that was my big start, and then I started booking everything in 2018, and then Minnie happened in 2019, 3 weeks after Lucy's passing, and I held on to that nugget, and I saw him a few months later, and he comes up to me, and the first thing he says is, "Did you?" And I hadn't said a word, and I just start crying. And because I'm in the same session, and he just leans in, "Did you do it?" And he kept it a secret for a whole year, but it was just like he called it, and I never knew how to thank him. I probably should buy him a flower or something. I should thank him in some fashion, I'm sure. But yeah, that's just all those people. They build those character pieces of who you are to create someone that's uniquely you. So learn from all those bests. So you like how they scream? The girl who does Angelica Pickles has the best scream in animation history. How she's like the way she screams is just gold. So practice those screams, practice those reactions, because coming from you, there'll be something completely different, even if you think you're channeling someone else. And that quality begets quality that will just keep going on forever. Did that answer your question? Number 7 on the list, suck up.
One of the themes of these panels turns out to frequently be, you know, I said this yesterday on the previous panel, but you know, you may be fans of voice actors, but voice fans are really fans of voice actors. There's an awful lot of camaraderie in this business. There are people who will say, you try to cast them, they say, hey, listen, I could do that, but you know, this guy does that voice better than me. This is not something that happens in live action on camera. Jobs. They don't give away, but people in voiceover, especially the ones who work a lot, are very just. Rob Paulson on these panels has told stories of how his career was built on Frank Welker saying, hey, I know a guy who's really good, who deserves a break. And Rob's, all his early jobs were Frank Welker recommendations. Frank has gotten a lot of people into the business, and we're trying to squeeze him out best we can, make room for everybody else, but no. A downside of this business. Now, let me first talk about these newer people here have not had too many sessions with everybody in the room, because even before COVID hit, the business was starting to move into home studios, and all of a sudden everybody had to get a home studio, and now you work alone. Fred, Fred would come into sessions with us, and we would have, it was like a party, and we were all having fun, and Fred's very presence in the room would bring everybody else up a little bit, and then Fred would be loving having a good audience, and he was just, let me ask this question. Having seen Fred Tatasciore here now for this panel and others maybe, do you see why people want to hire this guy?
Yeah.
You know, they just love having him around. And we're having dinner tonight, so that's right. So see.
What time? Here's the 100 things.
Can I say something related to that and to Fred too? Because there is, I also had something to do with casting and directing a massive audiobook project for Galaxy Press. Galaxy in the house? Anybody? No.
Yeah, Galaxy. Yeah.
Anyway, which were like pulp fiction stories by L. Ron Hubbard in the 30s and 40s that were great characters, mysteries, air adventure, sea adventure. And whenever I could get Fred, I was so happy. And so we got Corey Burton, Fred Tatasciore, got Robbie Paulson, and Nancy Cartwright, some of the best people in the business. And you're just so thrilled to have them, Tom Kennedy as well. And it was such a pleasure to direct them, because you really didn't have to direct them. You just kind of give them the script and make sure they know which lines they have to read, and then you just sit back and enjoy it.
which are hell of a director. That was really great.
Thank you very much. I've modeled my directing skills off the great Alfred Hitchcock. Another voice that's lost in the midst of it.
These people all know who Alfred Hitchcock was, right? Some of you are laughing. Panels, everybody underestimates the audience. These people know more than you do.
Like, I know what it means. Y'all been clapping for stuff I had no idea it's like what they be talking about sometimes. Y'all be cheering. Oh, you know. Okay, you know the whatever name they just said.
Mr. Unbreakable Calm. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to show you what these people do. Now, yesterday you saw a cast of 6 people destroy a script of Wizard of Oz. Now you're going to see 5 people and give it a shot. This is a cold reading. This is not the way it works in a real recording session, because in a real recording session, you usually get the script way in advance, or somewhat in advance. You get time to read the script, you get time to mark the script, you get time to ask questions about the script. We're not letting you do any of that today. You also are not allowed to change the script, and we're going to encourage you to do whatever you want with the dialogue for most of the script. Now, this is The Wizard of Oz, and as you know, The Wizard of Oz starts in black and white, goes to color, and goes back to black and white. We're going to do the black and white sections straight. Straight a narrator, straight announcers, everybody playing the characters for real, following the script. When we get to the Oz part, you can do whatever you want and make up stuff and things like that. And then when we go back to the black and white part at the end, we go back to serious stuff. During the Oz part, the narration will be done by Mr. Jim Meskimen, and I will give him an impression to do for every line that he has to do. And he doesn't know which ones I'm going to give him, in what order, or how they fit in with the script, like that. And we will see what this has worked well in the past. I think it will work well now. I'm going to assign the roles to the people now and pass out scripts. And this is the hardest part of my job because I have to get up.
Nice Foley.
You know what Welker gets for making that sound? Rosemary.
I think it's always a bunch of voice actors. We all try to imitate the sound. How well can we make that sound?
There was a voice actor, a wonderful voice actor named Greg Burson. And when he passed away, we had a funeral, and the audience was the people present were mostly voice actors. And you had to drive your car up to this mortuary, and the booth had a guy who had an incredible, weird, funny Scottish accent. And I said to myself, that guy is going to be in every cartoon show recorded in the next 6 months. And later after the funeral, when people were milling around, everybody is taking turns doing the guy at the booth. And that guy was in more shows than Marvin Kaplan. And I tell you, it was amazing. All right.
That's a good idea.
Rosemary, you're going to be Auntie M. You're going to be the good witch, and you're going to be the bad witch.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a munchkin woman. Everybody will be a munchkin at some point.
I'm a munchkin.
Now,
It's pronounced munchkin.
Actually, calling me a
you'll be
munchkin is
Uncle Henry,
offensive.
and you'll be the Oz narrator. All right?
I'm in that house over there.
Fred, you're going to be the Scarecrow, and the Tin Man, and the Munchkin Man.
Cool.
All right? Zeno, you're going to be the narrator of the Kansas section, which is very serious and real.
Okay.
And you'll be the Cowardly Lion and the Wizard of Oz.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Dorothy.
Oh, I've always wanted to be Dorothy.
Now, I want to tell you one Kansas narrator. No, just the Oz narrator.
Just the Oz.
Okay, switch narrators here. This is a 2-narrator story. Now, a couple things. First of all, you all enjoyed the story of how Kate went from watching this panel to being on this panel. There are probably in this audience a few people who would like to make that transition and do voices. Later today at 3 o'clock in room 25 ABC, I'm hosting a panel called Business of Cartoon Voices, We do this panel because while there are some wonderful, great voice coaches and teachers out there, there are a few people who will charge you an arm and a leg and then several other body parts and not really help you much, and will not do the one thing that a good voice coach does, which is to say, you're not ready yet, I'm not going to take your money. We will be having on that panel two fine actors, Allison Packard and Greg Berger, who are both good voice coaches, but that's not why they're on the panel, and an agent named Sam Frischman, who's with CESD, and who agents some of the people on this stage. And we will give you very honest, frank advice about the business. And this panel is not done for entertainment. Nobody's going to be doing funny voices probably. We're going to talk to you and tell you some of the cold, hard facts of the business, which may dissuade a few people from pursuing it and may encourage others. If you're interested in this panel, we will give you the advice that somebody else will charge you thousands of dollars for. We're giving it to you for absolutely nothing. 3 o'clock, 25 ABC. Now, are there people in this audience who would like to do cartoon voices? All right. Of the people who would like to do cartoon voices, is there anyone here who's really good at doing dog barking? Is there somebody here who does good dog barking? Who's that?
That girl.
Which girl?
Cruella. She's your dog.
What's your name? What is it? Jenny. Jenny, you do good dog barking? I need a Toto for this script. Would you like to come up and join the panel out there?
Make sure you remove your mask.
You can unmask Jenny. Oh my God, it's Jenny. Jenny, tell us where you are in your career.
I do not have a career in voice acting.
What are you doing for a
really
living
good
now?
dog barker.
What are you doing for a living?
I'm in communications.
That
For a tech
counts.
company.
That's a sweet word.
All right, now, this is the Wizard of Oz. We're going to have you play Toto. Remember, Toto is a small dog, but you can ad-lib him into a big dog or any kind you want. And we're going to add a few Toto lines in there. We're going to pad your part a bit. I will tell you places as we go along where Toto's going to get an extra bark or two in here. Okay. All right? Okay. So get ready now. Kate will show you how to mark your script or get ready for this thing. All right, folks, with not enough time to mark their scripts properly, here is this cast of 6 thespians who are going to destroy the script of The Wizard of Oz. All right, I will occasionally jump in and say and give a direction to do a line over and maybe change the voice. You can change a voice anytime you want. Your character does not have to be consistent. And would you keep the music going through the entire episode, please? All right, we're going to start in Kansas. Imagine that everybody's in black and white. Zeno is going to start as a very serious, real narrator, and we are in black and white until I tell you otherwise. Begin, please.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Dorothy who lived in a farm in Kansas with her Uncle Henry, her Auntie Eb, and a little dog called Toto. One day, Dorothy was outside with Toto when her aunt and uncle called to her.
Dorothy, stop playing with that dog and get inside. A tornado's coming.
Hurry, Dorothy. Get into the basement with your uncle and me.
It's dangerous out there.
Okay, hold on here. I think this needs a little more something. Could we do the Uncle Henry and Auntie M as Bill and Hillary Clinton, please? Go back to line 2.
Dorothy, stop playing with that dog and get inside. The tornado's coming.
Hurry, Dorothy. Get into the basement with your uncle and me.
It's dangerous out there.
Oh, Toto, look at those black clouds. No!
get back here right now. Right this minute.
Alas, Dorothy and Toto didn't get into the basement in time. They had to take refuge in a small house on the property, which they did, just before the tornado ripped the house off its foundation. The tornado carried the little house high into the sky and up over the rainbow, coming to rest in another world and smack dab on top of a wicked witch.
Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. And I think I've murdered someone.
The murderer and her dog stepped out into a beautiful, colorful world where they were greeted by little people. Is that correct? Is that politically? As far as the eye could see.
Did you kill someone?
Oh, who are all of you?
We're the Munchkins, and we want to thank you. You dropped the house of the Wicked Witch of the West.
You killed her and you killed her dead!
You've made the Munchkins very happy, my dear. Welcome. I am the Good Witch of the North.
Oh, well, my name's Dorothy, and this here is Toto. Talk, Toto. Oh, good boy. Oh, tree. Yes, good boy. Good boy.
Dorothy, for destroying the Wicked Witch of the East, I award you all that is left of her. Her ruby slippers.
Sean Connery.
The good witch waved her hand, and her wand was attached to the hand, and magically the glistening red slippers appeared on Dorothy's feet.
Sam Elliott.
Suddenly, a bolt of lightning and a chill filled the sky. Then a figure in black descended from above.
You killed my sister. Was it you? Who? Give me her ruby slippers.
Don't do it, Dorothy. Their magic must be very powerful, or she wouldn't want them. Be gone with you, Wicked Witch of the West. Your evil magic won't work here in Munchkin Land. Go away before someone drops a house on you.
Dorothy! Huh? I'll get you and your little dog, too.
Droopy Dog.
And with that, she and her broom took to the sky.
Oh my gosh, wow, thank you so much. But I just really want to go home. How did I do that?
Only the wizard would know how to do that.
He's basically Lipton dictator. Okay, well, how do I find the wizard?
Follow the yellow brick road.
Jack Nicholson.
And so the good witch disappeared. Dorothy and her dog set out to follow the yellow brick road. After a while, they were walking through a big cornfield when they heard someone talking.
Who would you like?
Anybody? Samuel L. Jackson.
I need a break. Oh, man, I need a break. Check out the Big Brain Outdoors.
Well, today, tall, dark, and strawson. Did you say you need a bride?
Yeah, I have but a straw in my head, and my arms and legs are everywhere akimbo.
Well, I like how you move, but how can you talk?
How the hell should I know? I don't have a brain, remember? Get it together.
How are you doing this?
give you a brain.
Woody Allen.
So Dorothy, Toto, and the Scarecrow kept walking. After a while, they saw a tin man beside the road near the reclamation center.
What?
So you're on your own.
All right. We'll do, and I was like, he's all right, that's right. So we'll do Tin Man and Jeff Bridges. Yeah, man. Oil can. I feel like I need an oil can. I feel rusty, man. You know, brother, go. Oh, yeah. I think he's trying to say that he wants some oil. Hey, pick that can up.
Toto, dear, be a dear and pick that can up. Okay, come on, Dre.
Everywhere, man. I'm rusty everywhere.
It's fine, that's enough. Just go ahead, come on. Okay, here's your treat. Here's your good, you know. Speak. Such a good boy. All right.
That's your dog.
My dog is my life. Now, where do you want it? About to straight up dump it on your head, man. Now, where do you want it?
I appreciate it.
I've completely lost control.
That's what happens, man, you know?
What? Okay, good.
And so Dorothy oiled him up, and before long, he could talk and move again.
All right.
What here? What? What to bloody talk? And those when I walk the most important thing in life. Here go regardless.
A brain?
No, a heart. This doesn't live here. And your heart.
Well, little friend, why don't you come with us? We're going to ask the great wizard to make our wishes come true.
Johnny Carson.
And so the Tin Man joined their little band, and off they headed down the yellow brick road until they reached the Saugus cutoff. Slauson cutoff, I'm sorry, I've blown it already. Until they ran into a lion. A very cowardly lion.
Do it again, Toto. Keep that dog away from me.
I mean, you know, he's not a dangerous animal, man, you know? He's just a big sissy.
Don't hurt me, please. I'm not a bad guy. I'm just afraid of, well, everything. When I roar, sometimes I scare myself.
That's funny. I know who may be able to help you.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
A cowardly lion joined the trio as they headed for the Emerald City. On the way, they ran into all sorts of dangers, like flying monkeys. And a field full of hypnotic poppies.
I don't care for it.
And even a few scary encounters with the Wicked Witch of the West. Finally, though, they made it to the Emerald City, and soon they were in the presence of the Almighty Wizard.
Who seeks audience with the great and powerful.
We do, sir, but we have.
No one asks favors of the great and powerful. No. I'm sorry. But I will consider your request if you bring me the broom of the Wicked Witch of the West.
But together, we would have.
I have spoken!
George Clooney.
They had no choice but to travel to the castle of the Wicked Witch. And before they knew it, they were face to face with her.
Share. Okay, I'll show you. Starting with you, Scarecrow. How about a little fire?
Oh no, she's setting him on fire.
And strawberries so quickly.
Quick, Dorothy! That bucket of water!
How about Ricky Gervais?
Dorothy, right, hurled the water out on the scarecrow, put out the fire, right, but a lot of it got on the Wicked Witch as well. Awkward. Yeah.
What have you done? I'm melting.
You're right. You don't look so good. I'm sorry. Dorothy, you did it, Dorothy. That's crazy.
Dorothy, you killed a witch. I just love that guy. I don't know why I was at that. She killed her. She killed her. Dorothy killed the witch. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you destroyed the Wicked Witch.
An act of true courage, like I wish I had.
Morgan Freeman.
Back then, they went to the castle where they soon found that the great and powerful Oz was not all that great or all that powerful.
Oh no, I'm just a traveling salesman. Made a wrong turn and I wound up here. I don't have any magic powers.
You don't!
Steve Martin.
It was then that the good witch suddenly appeared.
Dorothy, you have the magic.
I do?
You've had it all along.
Okay.
Just click your heels 3 times and make your wish.
Do it, Dorothy. I'll make sure your friends here get brains and a heart and whatever else they want. Please.
Now we're going to have the Oz narrator transition to the Kansas narrator. The Oz narrator will be Robert De Niro.
Okay. So Dorothy, right? Dorothy clicked the heels 3 times. And, before she knew it,
She was waking up with 2 familiar faces before her.
Honey M, Uncle Henry, where am I? Oh my gosh, you're home. Dear, you're home.
It's safe in your own little bed right here in Kansas, baby.
Oh, it's so good to be back. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. I'm stuck in a repetitive motion. There's no place like home.
The end.
Good job, and a nice ovation for Toto. We're going to all watch for your career to take off from this. And we hope we'll see you back here in one of these positions one of these coming years.
This is my start as Toto.
Good. Thank you very much. We're going to talk a little bit of about
beer.
I can't talk. This is my 11th panelist.
Let's give it up for Mark. Mark, good to hear you.
I'm going to ask you to tell about, you've all, or most of you, have done video games where you had to scream and shout all day and went home with no voice at all. Would you somebody tell one of those stories, and would the person in charge of this room come sing it for me? I have a question for you. All right, would somebody do that?
Oh,
talk about
yelling and screaming.
Night we're done video games for a long time.
Well, yeah, it's a thing. It does come up. One of the funny stories I like to talk about, and maybe you guys have heard it, is when I passed out doing Hulk once. And it was so great during the film, yeah, because they wanted, like, can you just go, and I was like, yeah, sure. And I take a big old yoga breath and do, and everything went bing, 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 bum, 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 bum. It was like an anti-drug movie. You know, and I was like, Fred, sit down. I'm like, no. And I really went, whoa. And I said, and the ground evened out, and I was like, can we hear that back? And it was so great because like, oh, whoa. And I asked him, please put it in the movie. And there is a scene where he hits his head on the cave, and he's like, whoa. That was fun. Yeah, it's a tough part of the job. It's like stunts. It's just you got to warm up, you got to warm down. You also have to know what your limits are, especially in video games. You know, for me, I don't like yelling 4 hours, especially if you do other voices or you like to sing. It's not good because you really will be like, blow out your voice, and the next day session will be like, Subway, eat fresh. You're like, you know, I was big in Oaks. You know, the previous day I was a bunch of Oaks, and they found out. They said, can you please do a Subway ad? Doesn't work. And I was like, yeah, meat's back on the menu. You know, eat fresh. They're like, yeah, that's right, yeah, hobby. No, but so there are lots of, you gotta have rest. I've had singers talk about this, and about like 10 hours, I know it sounds crazy, about like 10 hours of sleep will restore a lot. Not just being quiet for 10 hours, but just to like get your breathing back into a regular cycle. Because it's a string. It's an electrical and it's a string and a wind instrument. You can blow, you just gotta be careful not to blow out the strings. Then there's some good medicines that I like. I know it's a name that has no other name, but Nimjom Pepakoa is very good. Entertainer's Secret, Throat Coat, Singer's Saving Grace, and a bunch of others. Gargling even with salt water, and neti pot's good. But those are all like remedies. But really, you want to be able to be careful with the stunts. So ramping in, warming up in, being mindful, using supported breath, and then be good to yourself, and not stay out and talk at parties. You know, like,
and lots of water.
I was looking at voice actors out at a party. Yeah, that's really great. Okay, we're gonna session tomorrow. You know, don't do that. And so yeah, but that's and people don't want to kill you. They just don't know. I mean, when I did this in the beginning of when we were doing video games, that's one's playing right now. We didn't know. We just threw it to the wall and killed ourselves doing it. Now they have a little more in place of like, okay, how much do we need? Maybe 2 hours of yelling, that kind of thing. You know, I mean, is there any? Yeah. Cover anybody? You guys think of anything else?
The thing I thought of was that it's funny, you talk about, one thing I never think about is, I understand about warming up, but warming down, cooling down is very, because I've noticed in directing and doing narration for audiobooks, I do a lot of audiobooks, and after 4 or 5 hours of doing audiobooks, you feel strange if you're not talking. And that's the time when you should stop and don't engage in a lot of conversations, because your impulse is to just keep talking and yammering on and on, and everything's kind of.
And that's the same. And that's the same chord. That's the same placement for hours and hours. You're using the same exact, like people talking on the phone all day. That will really kill you. It sounds crazy. Not just yelling. I mean, I do find if I have to go loud, I've said this before. It looks so dorky, but let's say I have to go like, medic. You know, like I try to do something to pull me back, you know, to exercise the other part of my throat, because it's all like singing. It's all in different places. You know?
I think that was especially for like newer people who like want to get into this. Like I'm one of those actors who are like, oh, I want to work 0 to 100. Like 100, make me scream for 4 hours. I just want to work the job. And like I had to learn like that's kind of not how that goes. I play Remy in Big City Greens. His voice is really high in my range, and I started learning that I can't wake up at. You know, if I have a 9 a.m. session, I can't wake up at 8:30 and expect to get Remy voice. Like I have to warm it up there, otherwise it'll sound scratchier, and I have to get there halfway through the session. And I'll be able to tell the difference even if the audience won't.
Or you just need a kick in the right place.
Yeah, that's also true. That's also true. If only there was someone that home to kick me, I'll have to get into that. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, so that I just know like there's gonna be actors out there who's gonna be eager to kill themselves because they love the work and they want to do the work 100%, and like you are allowed to take care of yourself. That's something I still have to learn too, being up here. So yeah,
I was the same as you. I would just throw it to the wall.
Yeah,
it's hard to say no. Like you want to make sure you can read for everything, or because what if you're that? What if this is it? What if this is your big one? Or what if that's the wheelhouse you didn't even know you had. Yeah. But if you're not feeling it if you're spending like hours on an audition, if you're not feeling that passion from the get-go, it's not going to translate to the product. So it's okay to say no.
The magic potions that Fred was mentioning, he's become quite an advocate of them. And since nobody in the recording business can remember the names of them, they will say, "Do you have any Fred juice?"
Fred juice.
Fred juice.
Fred juice.
The Fred juice.
That's
It's
right.
just Nim Jong Pei Bakoa. Apparently from China. Yeah.
And they make lozenges too.
Yeah.
Now we're going to try a little
Honey
experiment
love
here. I'm going to turn you all into a walla group for a minute. We tried this yesterday with the people there. I want you, for those of you who don't know, in movies, TV shows, group scenes, usually the group does not make noise while they're actually filming or taping the movie. It's dubbed in later so that they get the principals' voices clean without extraneous noise. So they have people come in and they do the voices of the crowds, the extras, and whatever it is. So I would like you all to be a high snooty cocktail party for a minute. Imagine that you're dubbing a scene, and I want you to just do a little chit chat in the background of a cocktail party, and I will be giving you further direction as we go along. All right? Begin.
Well, the problem.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, our margin numbers have increased exponentially. Yes, the board member thinks that.
All of a sudden, people begin hearing horrible news and whispering to each other about it. And finally, one woman, which will be Rosemary in this case, hears that they're saying that the entire party is about to be invaded by zombies. Okay. Now you're all zombies bursting into the room. Now you're the crowd fleeing from the zombies. Now you're the SWAT team arriving to take care of the zombies. Now they open fire on the zombies. All right, now you're the zombies dying for the second time. Now you're the crowd cheering the death of the zombies. Now you're the zombies rising from the dead again. Now you're the zombies making cocktail chatter, having scared everyone away. And thank you. Now you're stuck hopelessly in character for the rest of the day. We actually have actors who they get into character, and then when you break for lunch or something, they stay in.
It's actually really, yeah, it's common. It's really weird. I don't know about you guys. The last dialect or the last character to do, I swear, I'll be driving home and like, this is when I'm going to 7-Eleven. I must get my coffee. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Gas price $6. I will walk home.
We did an episode of Garfield once. We had an Indian wise man, one of these guys, an Indian accent, a wise man, and he was being played by Jonathan Winters. And Jonathan remained that character all through the lunch break. And when he left, he said goodbye to us as that character. And as far as I know, he was doing it for days. He just got into the character.
He probably did.
Yeah,
I bet. He was wild. Yeah, I bet he did.
I used to have, when I was working at Hanna-Barbera, the office I had next to Doug Wildey's was a good place for the writers to gather and plot against management. And a Smurfs session would let out, and Jonathan Winters was a regular on the Smurfs. And he would come into my office, because there's usually a crowd there, seeking an audience. And I would turn to him and say, "Are you here to fix the plumbing?" And he would turn into a plumber and do 12 minutes on plumbing. And we're sitting there, getting a live dinner theater show from Jonathan Winters, one of the most amazing human beings ever saw. Who else? Let's name some other people who are just awesome.
He talked to me about working at a gas station once. I met him because he just wrote Winter's Tales, his book.
Yeah.
And I said, God, great book. He was illustrating it. He goes, yeah, well, you know, when one part of your career dries up, you got to start doing other things. I'm like, oh, he's talking about the writing. He's like, what I really hate is when the old people don't know how to have the handle. I have to get out of my kiosk, put the gas pump in the car, you know, and he's talking to me about filling tanks for like 20 minutes, and it was great. I was like, wow, you are that guy. Okay.
You are that guy.
Yeah, one time he suddenly turned into the last soldier holding out on Vietnam. And he said he was sitting there with a rocket launcher just waiting for Bob Hope to come by again. And he had this dream of shooting down the plane and seeing all the cue cards fluttering to the ground. Very strange.
He went deep. Yeah.
We got a couple more minutes here. I didn't get through all of Jim Meskimen's impressions. So, Jim, can you favor us with little Bryan Cranston?
Bryan Cranston. Well, we all know Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad, and what a great career he's had. And, he and I are sort of the same genetic type, so I don't consider this as much of an impression anyway. This is probably what I would sound like if Bryan Cranston hadn't beat me to it.
And a little of Sir Patrick Stewart.
Sir Patrick Stewart, well, you know, there's nothing like making yourself feel more cheerful and jolly.
You know, when you do that, you kind of look like the series.
I look a little bit more like Sir Pat every day.
And Jim, just for me, can you do a little Robin?
A little Robin, sure. Well, I've been lucky enough to do, I didn't mention it, but I do the Robin Williams Blue Genie for Disney every now and then. It's been a great honor. Thank you. But to cover up my Patrick Stewart costume there for a minute, really pull this off. Difficult to do it without hair. But,
you could cosplay. Yeah,
sure.
Feel like
double mask, why not?
MCU. Hire this man.
And let's close with a couple more. Christopher Walken.
Well, everybody does Chris Walken. It's not a challenge. The hard part is to stop.
Can I just say that I've been doing Liza, and she sounds like Christopher Walken.
Very similar. It's strange.
It's just crazy. I don't even know what to say.
I think we were born in the same hospital. It's probably an antibiotic we were given. It makes it sound this way.
Let's go back and do the whole Wizard of Oz thing again.
These people are wonderful. I'm just amazed at this. If you want to know more about, first of all, does anyone have anything they want to plug? Anything, please? Jim has a lot of YouTube videos.
And I'm on TikTok now too, as is Rosemary. Rosemary's really blown up on TikTok. Check her out. Funny stuff. Yeah, funny stuff. And I'm in a show coming out. Well, I'm in Gaslit right now, which is on Stars as Senator Gurney. And I'm in a new show called The Big Door Prize, which is going to, I think, come out in October. And that stars the very talented Chris O'Dowd. If you know him, he's, you might have to turn your TV on and off. Again, those of you understand that joke, that's good. It's an IT crowd joke. Anyway, The Big Door Prize on Apple Plus, I think. So that's all I got going on at the moment.
And Colonel Sanders, you can do a lot worse than to go to KFC after this and pick up a big family-style bucket or whatever it is that they might have there.
His Colonel Sanders impression is so accurate that every time he does it, the parent company swindles him out of money. This is frightening. Colonel was not happy with his deal. Anybody else want to tell me they're going to be? Anything coming up? Check out Jim's YouTube videos. Just search for Meskimen.
Search for Meskimen.
I'm, as it's been advertised all over the place, I'm going to be in Dragon Ball Superheroes coming out August 19th in theaters. Transformers Earthspark is November on Paramount Plus. And then be on the lookout for Digimon whenever that comes out. I play
It's like
so, yeah.
That's awesome. awesome. Please.
Let's see. Well, we just dropped The Wonderful Summer of Mickey Mouse on Disney Plus, and then we've got Wonderful Autumn coming out in a couple months, and I'm in a couple episodes of the new I Am Groot series, where I play just these little Lilliputian beans that he gets a big head over in one of them, and then a Muppety-looking bird that makes fun of him for just failing the whole cartoon. And then I think he rips her tail feathers out at the end, and well, you know, he's a child, so the preciousness of you. And I think that's it so far. We've got some new shows coming out for Cartoon Network next year, but they haven't been announced just yet. But there's some fun stuff coming for sure.
Great. Please check out Lower Decks, the 3rd season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Star Trek. Yeah, and Moon Girl Devil Dinosaurs coming out soon. And all the new Looney Tunes shows. There's some really fun ones. There'll be a movie too coming out, which is insane. And all we're talking about the Mickey tunes too. That's all out and about too. So
Can I just say, Fred does something so funny in The Wonderful Winter of Mickey Mouse. You're the mayor.
Yes.
But when Mickey makes a snowflake that's too big and it's going to crash to Earth and decimate everybody, it pans down to the idyllic scenery of everyone enjoying a summer day, and then you voice this lovely little pig lady who comes in and goes,
Make way for the baby parade!
It's so funny. I want it to be my ringtone.
Make way for the baby parade! Make way for the baby parade!
It's Steve Staples. It's Edith Bunker, baby.
Oh, here we go again here with the Denny, and you got the Mickey Mouse here. Oh, okay.
We also have He-Man, right? Season 3?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Season 3.
Duh.
Yeah.
He-Man.
Season 2.
Yeah, please. That's incredible. We're having a good time on that show. Yeah, so that's going to be great. Please.
King Stratus.
Yeah. King Randall.
Yeah.
All right, is there any other new business? In that case, we're going to, I want to just remind you that we have
And
the
rubber chicken cards,
Business of Cartoon Voices panel at 3 p.m. in room 25 ABC. If you want to know the nuts and bolts of this business and how, and find out what it isn't. A lot of people have some very strange ideas of what it means to be a cartoon voice person. But you just watched 5 of the best here very much. Would you join me in thanking Rosemary Watson, Mr. Jim Meskimen, Tatasciore, Zeno Robinson, Kaitlyn Robrock, and Jenny. Thank you. Thank you.